Imagine you're a child sat before a TV screen, an Xbox controller in hand. Your first gaming experience right on display before you. That game is Shadow the Hedgehog. Unbeknownst to you, this is a key memory. This is a character that will become one you love, set you down a red loving path in life, be the standard for your taste to come. That child is not you. No, that child is me. I have 3 separate key memories with this game as a child. Playing the intro level, playing the sand level, and playing the multiplayer. Despite the detail becoming foggy, I can still see those moments now. I know that I'm fully grown and unmedicated. Sega has blessed upon me, and all Shadow fans, the most validating piece of media to have ever been. I'll lead you in with this backstory because I want you to know how special it is to me, to see how they brought back my favourite Sonic game with the addition of one edgy boy, to not only improve upon a great game, to make it one of, if not the best, Sonic game. This is Sonic X Shadow Generations.
Waking up, breaking out. This is what it's like to be brave. Rip it up, tear it down. This is what it means to be brave. Waking up, breaking out. This is what it's like to be brave. Rip it up, tear it down. This is what it means to be brave.
Okay, dramatic intro is over. I'm going to be a little bit more upbeat now. Now, for this video, we're going to be discussing Shadow Generations. As much as I love the original, it's been out a while. There's no need to get into this one right now, but just know it's still an absolutely amazing Sonic game. Now then, diving into Shadow Generations, let's first focus on the story. Starting with Shadow having been absorbed by the Time Eater while investigating an oddity on the Ark. However, Black Doom was already plotting his return. The timeless world seemed to only accelerate his plans. It's up to Shadow to overcome the influence of the Black Arms and defeat the monster that ultimately led to his creation. Now that's a very abridged version of it anyway, but let's kind of look deeper. Let's see the themes of this story. Ultimately speaking, I think this story is about acceptance, about being at peace with what has happened and being able to move forward with what will happen. Shadow was faced with stages, foes of his past, yet his biggest struggle throughout this game is seeing his family once more. That family, Maria and Gerald, are here to remind Shadow that although he may share blood with the monster's Black Arms, he is nothing like them, which is what Maria always tried to do, to get Shadow's heart to open up, to get him on a good path. Shadow was born in a place with little to no society. He looks over the earth yet isn't allowed to interact. I think that sense of isolation still lingers inside of him, perhaps wanting to open up, but feels like he shouldn't, or more likely to me, he doesn't know how. Growing up in that generally grim atmosphere, Maria was his hope given form, his way to a better future, the light in an otherwise very dark tunnel. Without her, he walks a lone road, always struggling to let people join his path, which is why I really like that they're here. It reminds Shadow of his hope, his heart, and despite having to say goodbye once again, I think this will ultimately leave the Hedgehog with a greater sense of humanity going forward. Alongside that, I think getting rid of Black Doom once and for all is him finally being able to close that chapter in his life. Everything here comes to test Shadow in a way that he's never been tested before. Yes, he can beat the Metal God, yes, he can beat freakish creatures, but coming to terms with himself, his past, well, that requires a different strength entirely. Additionally, that self-reflection is highlighted through the foes he faces. If we take all the bosses, you'll start to notice a connection. The Bio-Lizard was made to be the ultimate life form. Metal Overlord is a robotic clone of Sonic, an identity crisis Shadow himself had to struggle with at one time. Nephilis, despite being a literal dark reflection of Shadow, was sealed away for a long time and woke looking for revenge, which parallels Shadow's story exactly. And lastly, Black Doom, who was the reason Shadow came to be, connected to him in both his creation and his DNA, essentially being his father. All these characters are very strongly linked to Shadow. I believe beating them represents Shadow overcoming certain hardships he's faced throughout his life. One of the very weak points about the original Generations was the plot is kidnapped, beat the stage, beat the monster, save the day. This takes an introspective turn and I really love to see it. Shadow being able to move on from Maria and Gerald, realizing he's already made friends, that he already has people who want him in his life, that he can live a life without being haunted by the ones he loved. I think that's a beautiful way of evolving Shadow. And while we're on characters, let's focus in on them more. I just think Shadow is honestly fantastic in this game. He's obviously very edgy, very badass, but most importantly, Shadow is shown to be very kind. I think it's always important to show that despite his isolated upbringing, the death of his loved ones, Shadow is able to do right, to be that better person, and we get to see that more vulnerable side of him throughout the game. Also, I'd like to mention Shadow's voice actor. I would never have been too big a fan of his current voice actor, but I think in this game he just really fucking nails it, like really head on. And if he keeps going with that direction, I'm down for it, please. Not many others are heavily featured, but let's go over them anyway. Despite her bad voice actress, Rouge is actually really good when we see her. I like how Shadow and her can talk casually and joke between themselves, just showing in a small way that they're good friends. Also, thank you Sega for whoever made this shot, you know what we're about. Gerald and Maria are both obviously great here. One thing I like is how it shows Gerald is a genuinely really good man at this point, just wanting to find a cure for Maria, even if it means making a deal he'd come to greatly regret. He speaks in such a soft, warm tone. I love how you can clearly see the drastic difference between Eggman and Gerald.
So when that alien warlord reached out to me and offered the miracle of chaos control, I accepted it. Through his DNA, the ultimate life form was born.
Brilliant success! It's just as the Gaia manuscripts foretold! The entity that was sealed within the planet has awakened. Now I just need to harness its power. Eggman Land will finally come to be!
Maria herself I already talked about, but she is just the heart of the story. And not just the story, but Shadow himself. Getting a new chance to tell Maria that he'll fight with her in his heart, it's really sweet. I really like how they show the relationship here. The only complaint I have is that we don't get to see more of it. And even her cute little line about like why she named him Shadow, and Shadow's like, that's a bar. Like, oh, I love that. Sadly, there's not much more to talk about than that. Every other character gets extremely minimal screen time. However, I will say I love seeing the interactions with the bosses. I love Metal Overlord saying he's the true ultimate life form, attempting to convince himself more than he is Shadow, and Nephilis, despite not having his original voice actor, has great shit talk with Shadow, only for Shadow to steal him away once more. Also, I just fucking love this is the ultimate game of Shadow Tag. Oh, that's so corny that I love it. There isn't much, but what we do have is all great stuff. Now then, let's get on to the actual gameplay of Shadow Generations. Initially, you're placed in a small hub world. It controls really well. I think Frontier still feels a bit better in the open world, but this is still really good. For what it's worth, I actually found it really fun to explore. But even if you're not into the open zone idea, it's easy enough to get from one level to another. If these games have taught me anything, the open zone approach is so much fun, and I really can't wait to see what they're going to do with it next. Now, both in the levels and the hub world, you gain Black Arms abilities. These are gimmicks Shadow unlocks throughout the game, and honestly, I'm kinda shocked to say that they're all really welcome additions. First of all, you have Chaos/Doom Spear. It's used to stun enemies or hit buttons. It's not used too much in levels, but for what it is, it's pretty good. Second is Doom Surf, used to go over any water terrain. I find this really fun, both in the levels and the hub world. Seamlessly switching between running and Doom Surf feels really good. Third is Doom Morph. Everyone, including myself, struggled to get the hang of this at first, but once you get the hang of it, man, I think this might be my favorite one. Lastly, and technically firstly, is the Doom Wings. You get a tease for it in the first stage, and then you fully unlock it later on. These are pretty fun to use. You can really zoom through stages with them on, but if I am honest, they're my least favorite to use. Not bad at all, I just like the other ones more. The people at Sonic Team really made sure these were fun to use and felt very natural. God knows we've had lesser gimmicks before. Spoiler warning.
Why are you watching this video if you don't want to be spoiled?
Shadow loses all of these at the end, so I hope they retcon this somehow. Honestly, I want the Black Arm Shadow just to be a thing. Maybe introduce his fucking brother from the comics. Yes, that's a real thing, by the way, read Archie comics. Moving over to levels, we get 6 in total, with 2 acts each. A fully 3D and a fully 2D act. Before I even get into anyone specifically, these are all hits. Like, this is so peak that I might like it more than Generations regular.
How do you do that?
However, I'm gonna tell you one complaint I have. There are no levels from the original Shadow the Hedgehog. Fucking Sonic 06 gets a level, why not this one? There are 3 stages I would have thought could have made it into the game. The intro level being the one I would have thought most likely. I just think it's really weird that Shadow Generations doesn't have a level from the OG one. Oh, and now to glazing. Act 1 of the Space Colony arc. Have you ever just known the game is going to be outstanding from the first level because, oh my god. Not only is the entire level really fun gameplay wise, implementing chaos control in a lot of fun ways, but it has just great moments. Like, using the chaos control to kick the shit out of the cannon is absolutely amazing. The entire Doctor Strange Black Doom section is so awesome.
It's so trippy and radical.
I just love moments that make you distinctly remember a level beyond it being fun to play. Genuinely an amazing start. And Act 2? Just more insanely fun platforming. This is also our first look at the Doom Wings before actually unlocking them, and I just love this moment right here. Again, creating moments that stick with you are awesome. And overall, if you put the 2 stages together, they're nothing less than peak. So much more fun than the original stage even. I'm not a big SA2 guy, but that's a rant for another day. We don't need to talk about that. Moving into Act 1 of Rail Canyon, Sonic Heroes always had really standout locations, so I'm really happy to have another one inside Generations. The first act is blast to play. I specifically love when you're going through a normal tunnel and then suddenly it starts morphing around you. And same can be said for the level building back up around you. Oh, it's so cool. I just love it. Genuinely so much fun. And Act 2 coming around. Stages like this make me wonder if they'll ever do a fully 2D boost game. Sonic Rush remake? Hey? Because this is disgustingly fun. I'm usually way more leaning towards 3D Sonic, but this is honestly really good. I get a similar amount of joy out of both these 2D and 3D stages. Overall, together, these are once again superb. Like, can they even keep this up? Spoilers, fucking yeah. Coming up to Act 1 of Kingdom Valley. Kingdom Valley in this game fully makes me believe that if Sonic 06 was more like Sonic 09, then it would have been loved. I can't tell you on YouTube what this level makes me want to do, but you can imagine what I want to do after now. I don't know what that implies actually. Why did I write that down? It's genuinely so fun to run through. From start to finish, it's a great level. I think it's honestly my favorite level in this game. I genuinely love at the end when the fucking Moses starts splitting the seas and you're like, what? And you get to run through it as Shadow and it's so cool, it's so cool. And moving into Act 2, that feeling is persisting. I know people love classic Sonic gameplay, I do too, but this is so much more fun to me. I find the gameplay here so unreasonably addictive. Genuinely brilliant stage overall. And speaking of overall, these two stages are an incredibly fun pair. It's genuinely insane to me how the third worst Sonic game ever has the best stage in this game in my opinion. Now how about that second worst Sonic game? So Act 1 of Sunset Heights. The second worst Sonic game is my second favorite level in this game. Imagine what they could have done with like fucking Sonic Boom and Ender Beams! Like what the fuck? How are they so good at this? The difference between this and OG Forces is honestly unbelievable. There's so much going on in this one level that it sweeps the entirety of Sonic Forces. Just this stage alone is more value than that entire game. And I don't care. Wait, what do I mean I don't care what anyone says? Who the fuck has ever tried to defend Forces? And continuing on to Act 2, it's just more. It's just more good. This level mixes in a lot of Doom Surf and it's really fun. I love how it doesn't feel really gimmicky at all. It feels natural to Shadow's gameplay. And overall, I'm shocked to say that they somehow made me love a level from Sonic Forces of all games. My hat's off to you because how do you even? Chaos Island Act 1 is up next. Chaos Island mixes in Doom Morph, and I wouldn't blame you if this confused the shit out of you on the first time, okay? But once you get past that learning curve, oh, this is fucking awesome! I really like seeing Sonic Frontiers in a traditional light, because Frontiers went with that new open zone approach, which was really fun despite some flaws. But getting to see what could have been if Sega wasn't interested in changing up the formula is so cool. Insanely fun stage yet again. And moving on to Act 2, just a really fun 2D stage mixing in Doom Morph. There isn't much to say apart from that, it's just pretty solid. And overall, they just do Frontiers justice. I think Frontiers, despite some issues, is a really fun game, and a game I hold near and dear to me. So seeing this is just really awesome. Oh bitch, you know what's next, Black Doom was next.
Oh fuck yeah, it's Radical Highway.
Again, really solid stage. I think Doom Wings make it a little less engaging than the other levels, but overall really good. And the same can kind of be said for Act 2 of this, although Act 2 is actually a second 3D level. Not complaining, I just think it's odd. And I don't have much to say because I actually think these are the weakest stages in this game. All the other stages are like a 10 out of 10, this is like an 8 out of 10, so somehow it looks worse in comparison. And just like that, we're officially done with all the levels.
Chaos Control!
JK, not done. Lol. Post-launch, Sega released a final level. This ties in with the release of Sonic 3, seeing Shadow go through a portal to Shibuya, taking on the form of his John Wick counterpart. Now, the sad news is that this is a one-act stage, but it's a packed stage, so let's get into it. We're moving through Shibuya, facing off against Gun. There's a lot of fun optional routes, along with just a very good feeling of speeding through the stage. One of the things I adore most is the need to show how badass Shadow really is. A helicopter shoots a missile at him, he's all like, "Oh, this is what you bitches got," and immediately stalls on them.
Smoking sexy style!
Also, this little animation he does after is cool. And because he's apparently style-pilled, Shadow kicks the fucking rings out of this second helicopter. Like, who are you styling for? It's me, yeah, he's doing it for me. And to top it all off, this windscreen.
Perfect.
And that is the actual end to the stage list. So when looking at this game, it's just near perfect. A short but very sweet adventure that feels really replayable. Seriously, in my off time, I've opened this game a fuck bunch. Editor put up, I'm the editor by the way, editor put up how many hours I have in this game on PlayStation and started playing it again on Steam, and I have like fucking how many hours now as well. Oh, it's just fucking disgusting how much I love this game. To replay 1 or 2 levels at a time and then just close the game, it's really comforting in a way. So as a game, we're looking at a good story, good gameplay, good music, good, well, everything. For the past while it's been good, but so now that a game has come to such critical acclaim from longtime fans and longtime haters, it's a spectacle. It also seems universally loved among the self-harming Sonic fandom. I haven't seen any of the regular flame wars that happen over this. It's just been good. Now obviously there is that group of Sonic fans for every game, but like, it's not very noticeable this time around. In terms of future releases, we seem to be on a very good path. With Frontier's insanely fun open zone mixed with the superb level design of Shadow Generations, we could finally enter a new era of Sonic. One where we have all of Sonic's friends because he doesn't have too many, shut up. One that has universal praise and one that makes me proud to be a fan. But for now, that's just wishful thinking. Now, to close out, I'm gonna focus on what this means to me. Now, if you'll remember, I told you that this was my first video game ever, but not only was it my first video game ever, it was my first Sonic game ever. And not only that, it's my first memory. Yes, genuinely, my first memory is playing Shadow the Hedgehog on the original Xbox, which, be real, is far superior to your first memory. So, for me, a literal day one Shadow enjoyer, it's difficult to say how much this one just hits home, but I'll try. I'm hoping this video pushes 10 minutes, you know? I've always had such a passion for the original Shadow the Hedgehog. I'll open a church in its honor, trust me. It's weird and it's wacky, and I'll forever adore it as my little masterpiece. And this game validates that little PS2 era boy inside of me. Featuring Black Doom, expanding on the Black Arms, heavily featuring both Gerald and Maria, it just feels so good to me. I especially love that Black Doom's back. Who doesn't love Black Doom? I love his stupid voice. He's like,
Shadow, hi. I'm having so much fun with you. I love you.
I love that guy. He's so cool. Yet gameplay-wise, theme-wise, the games are very opposite in so many ways. With this game having Shadow embrace his past and move forward, when the original had Shadow chasing his past. It's such a big contrast. To take such an edgy badass and show he can hurt, he can heal, I think that's something that's heavily missed from most video game Shadow portrayals. He isn't just Angst the Hedgehog. He's a hedgehog who's mad at the world he never learned to love. The world that took Gerald, the one that robbed him of Maria. And I'm really happy to see that featured in this game. So what does this mean to me? Everything. I love this game. I hope more like this comes. So, thank you, Sega. And don't immediately fuck it up.